Good evening. How y'all doing today? All these Israelites, okay? And the reason I say Israelites because God have brought me in the midst of you guys with the spirit of Israel which is Lewis, in order to bring you the enlightenment of the scripture. We are dealing with the fullness of the gospel now. We are teaching you what God the Almighty, Melchizedek. Some may say Melchizedek, some may call him Hermes, some may call him Thoth. But the one that Abraham, as the story goes, Abraham listened to. He taught Abraham many things. We must understand a lot by Thoth, because at the same time, Thoth is in the Egyptian literature, in the Egyptian mythology. He's known as the God of the God. Melchizedek was known as known as the priest of the Most High God. So we should know that and understand that so we can move forward. This lecture is entitled, North America land was stolen from the Messiah. North America lands was stolen from the Messiah. The reason why I'm talking about the Messiah, because I must go in the area of Sod. I must hit different levels. When we talk about Canada, we hear about Canada, and we hear about who really owned Canada. Most people are going to go back and show you what's on the dollar bill. The Queen. The Queen. Who owned England, who controlled England, who really is the owner, as they say, the owner of England, you're going to go back to the Queen. So we got to understand that there's land that have been all the way back to Noah's time. And before, but we're going to deal from Noah time forward, all the way back to Noah time. Certain location was allocated to certain one of those brothers, those sons, and we have to understand that. It's a metaphysical doctrine of writing, but it still gives you some indication of what Thoth was doing and what Thoth have done on this earth for many thousands and thousands of years, and we need to understand that. But what I want you to understand, that this land here in America, was designated for a particular group of people, and they own this land as the native, the Aborigines say, before the moon was. So this land, and you got to understand, in the possession of the equinox now, in the possession of the equinox, this possession of equinox I'm using this and I'm showing, let's show Noah time here. Noah time is here. We go through this dark age, and then we come to the Son of Man time. Then we're going through this Bronze Age, we're going through the Silver Age, the Gold Age, and we're coming back around, all the way back around the Gold Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, back to the Noah type character. Then we're going to hit the Dark Age again. Now in Egyptian mythology, you're going to see Set, which people call the devil, Satan, or Seth, and then you see Horus. You see Horus. And these are the things we got to understand, because when you want to understand how this planet works, how this universe works, how this earth works, how mankind works, we'll find out that when you're going closer to, you got a Sirius coming there, and our planet is here, the sun here. When Sirius coming is closer to us, there's more illumination is happening. Our DNA going to a higher and higher level of consciousness. So what you're going to have, you're going to have structure like the pyramid built in the silver and the gold age. Okay, and then when you get back to the dark age, most of the culture ain't going to understand how it was built. And some say, well, this happened, that happened. And most of our Eurocentric knowledge of things, Eurocentric history of things, you know, they want to stick you, and everything was done in the dark age. See, that's so they could control the way you think. So they say the pyramids were built by 3000 something BC and all that nonsense. Come on, give me a break. But the scientific world don't say that. Scientific world, the scholars tell you that, man, some scholars tell you that pyramid over there and that Sphinx is over 72,000 years old. And they're right, because you can't say that it was built in that little short period of time and then not even calculating or knowing anything about the rest of the possession. You can't do that to yourself. And they don't teach you the arts of the possession of the equinox. And by you not having that, they keep you in a box. They keep you trained. They keep you out of the truth. And that's not good at this time, because we're at this time here. Like Noah down here, we're up here. Like Noah was in a 1,000-year period of time, we're going into that 1,000-year period of time. As above, so below. As below, so above. And we have to understand that. And we'll move. That's why knowledge is increasing now. And right in the Daniel say, knowledge will be increased. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And as they show it, for almost 6,000 years, they was riding in horse and buggy. Now you're riding in an airplane, automobile, horsepower, automobile, etc., boats and all this stuff like that at fast speeds, etc. You got your telephone was, wasn't in existence at that time, and now you got wireless communication and all this other stuff, and these things are happening. And the Bible is fulfilling itself. Now, I want to say something though. Although the Bible is fulfilling itself, and this is happening to the bulk of society, there was arts that gave people certain ones of the aristocrats and the ones that deal with the arts a level of consciousness that they could use the arts. They could use, like Nostradamus, use a bowl of water. Before you had communication with the phone, they could use a bowl of water and the arts and certain things, and they could make that bowl show you the future. See, these things was happening too now, because that knowledge that that was way in the other ages, it came on underneath the dark age. But the mass of the people didn't understand. Only a few individuals understood that. So they could manipulate statues and stuff. You see a statue crying and all that, and you don't know what. How in the heck could that statue crying? People, that's all the arts. That's art. That's art. Okay? You see, talk about people walking the water, even in Jesus' time, disappearing in the crowd, all that. That's the arts. The arts is capable of doing that. The arts are capable. We talk about, even now, we talk about craft, non-gravitational craft that defy gravitation and all that. All that stuff was known. This is nothing new. These things was known. Some of it were kept under the sacred order and kept away from the masses of the people, and so they could go through that dark age, so those kings or royal could control you. And God permitted to be, because it was known as the dark age time. We have to see this. Now back to this. North America land was stolen from the Messiah. Stolen from the Messiah because the Messiah represent a bloodline. Messiah, you hear the story about David and all that. You hear the story, you hear the writing about Shiloh. You hear the writing about Joseph and all that. That's a bloodline that you're talking about. We're talking about, and you need to understand that God had put certain bloodlines to control in certain areas of this planet. In this area of the United States of America, there was a certain, what we call Hebrewic, or Egyptian/Hebrewic bloodline that dwelled here. That the knowledge that the peoples had in Egypt, these peoples over here had that same knowledge. The knowledge that the peoples had over here, the peoples in Egypt and other areas around the globe with the pyramids, etc., they had that certain knowledge. So it wasn't just one person had knowledge and all the rest of them were heathens and all this other stuff. It was not like that at all. But they want you to think that. They want you to think that the Esoteric through Christianity civilized the whole world, And that's what they teach you in your history books, and they teach you in your church pamphlets and your churches and all this other stuff. And it's a bunch of lies. It's really not the truth. And we need to understand that. This land is a Messiah, is the bloodline that have the right to this land. And that Messiah is known as what we call the peacemaker. I use that term. The peacemaker. You hear the Indians talk about the peacemaker quite a bit in their legend and their folklore. The peacemaker. When you talk about the Federalist papers that the Indians had, and when we built our Constitution off that, and before that we built paper before our Constitution we have now, but it was built based on that. It was basically plagiarized from that the Indian had, because they were known as Hebrews, from many other scholars that came here to visit America. And when they looked at them, they wrote in their papers or wrote back home to their friends. And they said, sometimes they said it was like on certain streets in London, these Hebrews. Some of them praised that those Indians, or what they call Indians, I don't like to use that, the Iroquois, and which are part of the Cherokees, the Cherokees part of Iroquois. They had that advanced knowledge. They had that knowledge just like they had over in ancient Egypt, how to build cities and pyramids. They had all kind of stuff. had all kind of stuff. And a lot of the Eurocentric that came over here, they were shocked. They even taught them about how it is to keep your body bathed and cleanliness and hygienes and all that. And people think that when the Europeans came over here out of the Dark Age and they was coming over here, they just took showers and bathes. They have a story about Louis XIV. They said Louis XIV, I don't know how true this is or not, but they said Louis XIV ain't taken but 3 baths in his whole life. Because what they thought baths was that just change your undergarment and wash your hands and your faces and stuff like that. And the native, the Aborigines here, they said that they had running water in each house and stuff like that. How the aqueducts was and all, I don't know, but that's what was said, reported to be said. That these people was advanced. They had agriculture, they grew tobacco, they grew cotton, they grew many things. They did mining, they did all these things. They had their own constitution, they had all this, what you call the Federalist paper. They had all this stuff. And see, they're not teaching you this in school. So you would know that there was a bloodline, there's a bloodline even here today that this land belonged to. And in the scripture, it called it the land of the person of the Messiah coming in the scripture or coming at our time to claim that land. And that's very important. Now let's deal with Numbers 12:6. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. Now, I'm going to give you an example. The prophet, this prophet that is to come, Jesus, as the initiates say, call him the Son of Man. Now, you got to understand, this prophet is coming to build a nation, the kingdom of God on earth. So we got to see that. So he got to build it somewhere. Where is it designated from the scripture saying it's going to be built? In America. So that prophet is a royal. And in Daniel, the 9th chapter, around the 25th, 27th verse, it called him the Messiah, the Prince. So that means he is a royal. And in Daniel 12, it says, in that day shall Michael come, thy prince. And you're going to see that. And they're going to say at the end of that particular verse, they're going to say, and thought shall be found written in the book. And these things you got to understand, because thought is to come along with that bloodline in order to declare that property, that land of Israel, which he is known as Israel, so you could have your place. And you could be in a territory where you're going to have peace, happiness, and unity, and you don't have to have the fear of war, the fear of neglect, the fear of liking anything. Because God's presence is going to be there. That's why you see he's called Emmanuel in one area, and in another area, one area he's called Emmanuel, in the other area he's called Ishmael. And most people think that, oh, that got to be the same, that can't be the same person. Whoa, you got to understand the arts, my people. You got to understand the arts, and you can see this. Now, the reason I'm going to talk about this is because the Eurocentric world have always tried to bring forth this person before his time. They had tried to bring him forth at the time of Jesus. They tried to bring him forth at the time of Louis the 14th, all the Louis, and that's where they got this story, this ideology of the Merovingian bloodline. Okay, and they tried to bring him at the time of our time now, and this is why we're going to talk about Lewis Island, because in Scotland, in this particular area, it's claiming that this bloodline is dwelled in that area as well. From the Merovingian bloodline, this bloodline. And that's why you'll see me talk about Lewis Island. You need to look up Lewis Island. And why that's important, because Donald Trump, Presbyterian, Donald Trump's mother come from Lewis Island. And you got to see that. It's very important. This is the area I'm taking you that's different from an area that I have taken you before. And these are revelations that you got to understand, because you got to know that all through these times they've been trying to create your Jesus. They've been trying to create that bloodline so they could control the world and hope that they could bring that nation of God, or that kingdom of God on earth. Bring in Israel. This is one reason why they're trying to trick you with that Israel situation over there, when Israel could never be over there. As the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For wherever the eagles is, wherever the carcass is, the eagles shall be gathered together. That's here, my people. That's here. The light has to come out of the west. And that's why right now the Vatican is controlling Biden. Because the Vatican know that once that power rise, that is a priest and a king. That power rise, then that power going to overshadow the Roman priesthood and the Roman government. And they know that. So they want a close tight grip on America, and they're not letting you know none of this stuff. And you need to understand how the arts work. You need to go and do your drush, your research in these areas, and find out about the Merovingian bloodline. Find out by every time when Louis was named, the cardinals named that child Louis once he came from a great king before him, or at his time. And you got to see this thing. It was not a Louis, his son, his granddaddy was named Louis, the daddy was named Louis, and then his name was Louis, and then his son would be named Louis. It was never done like that. And these are the things you have to do your homework, do your drush, and find out. And you can see these revelations reveal themselves. Now, on Louis Island, Hebrews. Now you're going to see the word. I want you to see something very carefully, because words, when you see them spelled similar, they have similar meaning. You're going to see this right here. I want you to see this right here. This right here. Right there. I think I got it now. And I want you to see Hebrewic. I want to see you to see this right here. I don't go no further in here yet. These two words have a lot of similarity. And you got to understand that. On the island where Trump's mother was born and raised up at, you had an island, an area, the island's known the Hebrewics. And the Hebrewics was a people that was what we call, they didn't really call themselves Jews. They look at themselves like King James didn't call himself a Jew like that. He was known as a Hebrew. He traces lineage back to Judah, etc. That's what how the story goes. Okay. But what they're saying that it's a certain bloodline got to come off this island, and they're going to come and they're going to be able to rule in the Western Hemisphere. And so they was more like building Trump up because of his mother, building Trump up as being one that's connected to this, okay? Connected to this. Now, how much they could understand about Trump in the Bible, because you got to remember now, we study the Protestant Bible. The Catholics don't study the Protestant Bible now. They got their own book, and they got their own ideas on how these things supposed to pan out. Yes, the Old Testament is tied, but they are totally different from you. Although they are called Christians, and they're the one form the Christian movement that we see now, and the Protestant movement came from that. Because when you deal with the Reformation, and you deal with Lutheran and stuff, he was a Catholic priest. Okay, so we got to understand all these connections to know where this revelation is taking us today and this particular time of human history. Now, in that, you got Harris, you got Lewis, and you got Harris. Okay, you got Lewis Island, this is the biggest part of it, and you got Harris in there. Now, why was they doing that? One person told me when I seen that, they said, well, that's what our vice president name is. Yeah, her name is, but this ain't about that so much. And the party, it could have some of that, some stuff to do with it, because I think that's her husband's name. So I'm not for sure, you can straighten me out on that or not, but that last name, but anyway, what we want to do is show Lewis and Harris Island. Lewis Island is a big part of that. And this island that deal with the Hebrews, okay, which are the same as this. Now I want you to study this. This word here and this word here have the same meaning. Now, what is the meaning of this word? Other side. What's the meaning of this word? From the other side. What difference is other side and from the other side? And see, you have to see this stuff, because then you can understand what's going on. Why did you have parties like the American Party was known later as the Know Nothing Party by the media, and Donald Trump, when he speak a lot, he deal with the Know Nothing view of things. And we got to see that. Why is I know nothing. We ask him about the clans and the people who try to back him. I know nothing. You talk about some of the other stuff. I know nothing. And what you do is like flipping the Republican Party into the Know Nothing Party. And you have to see these things at the same time. Now, although Donald Trump is in the Bible, he's in the Bible. He's in Leviticus. No, he's in Leviticus, I think the 25th chapter, stuff like that, dealing with the atonement, reparation, etc. And when you look at his spot, Donald Trump came at that time, and Donald Trump fulfilled that he had to fulfill in those 4 years. So you can't take away from him just because he ain't there now. Now, I looked at his mythology quite a bit lately, his spot quite a bit lately, and I don't see Donald Trump coming in here taking the seat from Biden at all now, but I know that he could be an influence. And at the same time, Biden gonna give us some real bad years in 22, well, not really good years. He's not gonna do a lot in the ending of 2022, 2023, and 2024. So if you're looking for Biden to come out with some good policies, some good ideas, and not forget it ain't finna happen. Okay, now I need to read about Harris and what she gonna come, but she's the vice president, but she ain't running this thing. Biden is the one running it right now. Now Biden have a spot in 2025, and whether that spot gonna get him over the hump to be in the White House the next term, I don't know. Okay, but I'm gonna just show you these things so you can understand it, because we need to understand what's going on. This time we're living in right now is a time of a zeitgeist, and we got to understand that. Why is this so important? Because God gave the spots of the Messiah, the Prince, at a certain time. And if his spots is 2016 to 2025, there got to be major events, world-changing events that's going to set the stage of our future in that period of time. And right now we at 2021, we got 22, 23, 24, 25, and our spot already always going to the next year. So that means before 2026, a major event's going to happen in this nation. It's going to set the stage of our future. And these things where you got to understand, what is the zeitgeist? What is the zeitgeist? The zeitgeist is the soul of a certain time that's important, that you need to understand that God have sought in Hebrew typology. Well, one prophet shared a thought with the other prophet, and that prophet understand the sacred knowledge of the divine. And that sacred knowledge is a scientific, esoteric knowledge. And in that scientific, esoteric knowledge, you know those truths. And you can't get around them, people. You could twist, turn. You could say, well, I believe this. It don't matter what you believe. It matters what is. And you have to see that. Now let's go on down. Okay, and all these words, and I want to deal with this. It's a word I want to deal with. Where do I have it at? I have it. Oh, it's over here. I'll get to it over here. Okay, let's go with Genesis 32:28. Genesis 32:28. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. And what is the word Israel? It turned it from Jacob, trickster, to Israel. What the word Israel turned into? Lewis. L-E, and go up here. Let me go with it over where that other place. It's over there. But I'm going to go with him. L-E-I-S. L-E-I-S. And you say you take that W and you turn it sideways and you twist it. L-E-W-I-S. That's Lewis. And you know that. But what I want to show you now, not so much that. I dwell on that a lot. The reason I dwell on that a lot, I got to get you to see that. See that this is a reality when you're dealing with that name. Because you got to move yourself from that way, from Peshed to the allegorical way of seeing things. And it's very important. Now, he said, thy name shall no more be Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince has thy power with God. Now, what is this saying? You hear the story how they say, Paul said, Peter them say that that God is with man. When one disciple said, show us the Father, he said, when you see me, you have seen the Father. When you see the messenger, you see the essence of what the Father is in the flesh. The essence of what God is in the flesh. Now, what is that saying? That don't mean that it's physical, but sometimes some of the physical is there as well, but in a third, fourth level vibration. But what you've got to see is that God is with us. That's what you see. God is God hear us, and God is with us in that person. So you see, there's a God part of that person, of all of us, but that particular person that you need to learn from, because he's sending him, he sent that messenger here to guide you down that right path, so you could be able to overcome all the wiles of the world in this paradigm shift. And that's why it's very important. And carry your future life on in your business and in morals, in economics and social and political and diet and appetite. And it's very important. We're going to have to change our farming program the way we have it if we want to reign with Christ for 1,000 years. This food thing got to change, my people. I heard one of the doctors, a surgeon out of California, and he was on there on the site, and he was saying some things, and he's a well-known surgeon out of California, heart surgeon, and he was talking about the eating and the diet. And he said, you know, that right now our food is nutrition in our food, and the stuff, minerals in our food, and how it's supposed to work. Said we are from our parents. That food is only probably 90% less in its nutrition than what our parents had. The same food, same vegetables, same thing, because the fact that they done changed the growing process. They done changed it where no bugs get on it and no bugs want to touch it, because they fix it up in a laboratory and stuff like that, and then it'll come to you, it'll be on the thing, and they shine it up, and it'll come to you, and it'll be served to you, and you look at there, and that vegetable look good. But you're really not eating what you think you're eating. And I can tell you how you can find out. Go get a bell pepper that's grown not from out of the store, naturally grown, somebody growing their garden, a bell pepper. You take that bell pepper out and you put it up to your nose. You're going to smell a bell pepper. Okay, you take one out of the store and you put it up to your nose. You're going to see this is not the same thing. And that's an easy test that you would know. I did it, and I was shocked. Didn't know that. Because my brother, he have a garden, and he like to grow about 1 or 2 acres of stuff. Just, it's something he do. He retired from the school system. He taught school for 20-some years, then in the administration department, and that's his thing. Even when he was teaching school, that was his thing. He liked to go outside. That was his getaway place. And I always admired, because he reminded me of my father. My father always used to do that. When he come over work, he'd go in his garden and he'd do his thing. Grow his okra, grow his collard greens, grow his mustards, grow all those different ones, grow his potatoes, sweet potatoes, all kind of different kind of potatoes, and all kind of vegetables. Not one, peas, beans, and all that stuff. My father liked doing that. My brother liked doing that. But when you eat that stuff, it tastes totally different from the stuff you get out of the grocery store. That means we're missing nutrition. We're missing stuff. And we got to get that. We have to restore that back if we're going to live this longevity. And it's very important, because he said to Abraham, thou shalt go to thy father in peace and live at a good old age. I was telling them about our time. After that 400-year period of time, that's what's supposed to happen in his seed, in our life, in Israel life. And we got to see that. Okay, now I want to go and I want to cover these names. Miss Clara A. Wood, Lord Hill, Tamiria C. Fennell, Roger Olden, Philip Davis, Simone Walker, Marcellus Jason, and Quantina Thomas, Okay, I want to give these people credit because they have been there, and I like when I see names keep reappearing and reappearing over and over again. And we don't sometimes give these individuals credit like they're supposed to have, and I'm about that. I'm about that because I thank God for individuals who really see this organization as something that's supposed to move and go to the next levels. Now we're going to this next board. We're going to deal with the arts dealing with English gematria. In here, we're going to deal with the procession of the equinox in the Dark Age period. And we're going to bring certain things out. We're going to deal with certain names that are used back then from the Greek and the Latin and stuff like that. Okay, English gematria. What is English gematria about? When you're doing stuff in the Bible and you want to use a name and change that name to its number value, so you could use the golden ratio and work to come up with that person's spot, you need this English gematria. This English gematria is dealing with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. That's 13 letters. Then you start back over under that. N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, 13 more letters. So you got 13 on the top, first 13 on top, and allow 13 on the bottom. You start, always take that number back, that end back over here. Now, we're dealing with the numbers that go with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You stop at 7, you go from the other end, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you have to start up your English gematria chart, because in it, you got the word, in all this studying, if you're going to deal with the arts, you got this word tetragrammaton. What is that? The language of God. You'll see them used with tetragrammaton. They'll use Y, you, him, we, him. That's Y, H, W, H. We, him, you, him. That's the language of God. And you have to understand that. A lot of times people, and I'm going to say it like this. You know, we have to understand that this is the fullness of the gospel. This is the fullness of the gospel. Thought's supposed to come and teach the messenger what you're supposed to know. Thought have came and taught me or teach me things through the cassette records on what you need to know spiritually, so you can embark on your social, your political, your economic, and your dying appetite life, so you could be whole. This whole thing about this ministry is to bring you to be whole. And if you don't have your own land when you're supposed to have your land, you don't have your own economy when you're supposed to have your own economy, and you don't have your ideals of God and a godly life, and this go for everybody. This ain't just for the black folk, peoples of color. And most people think, well, it's just about peoples of color. Israel and the children of Israel are the ones that following Israel. Most people say, well, I'm the child of Israel. How are you going to be the child of Israel and you ain't following me? And that's what I want to know. How are you going to be that? I'm Israel. You know, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm Israel. I have to know that. I have to have enough nerve to stand up here and tell you I am Israel. And if you're going to be the children of Israel, or the follower of Israel, or the seed of Israel, you have to follow me, my people. And if you don't believe this, please don't follow this at all. Because this is what Israel about right here. I'm coming teaching you stuff that no one have ever taught you before. You ain't never heard this stuff in the church before. You have never heard this stuff. You guys that's in the sacred order, you never seen this stuff before neither. It's not just the church folks. You ones up there in them high orders. You in them fraternity. You ain't got this stuff here. You got a little stories, but you don't have this level. And there's nothing wrong. You weren't supposed to have it. That's my job, to come and teach you the arts. The scripture said, Hagar's son will come with the art. That means the church, the peoples of the church, their religion will come with the arts. And that's what I'm here. I'm a man of color of this nation. I'm not from Africa. I'm from this nation here. Like they say, the Iroquois, which are later in the South, they were known as the Cherokees, which had their own nation, was known as the Hebrew nation. I'm a part of that. My genes all up into there. That's what I'm a part of. And historically, you've been lied to. You've been lied to. And that got to go. That social engineering and all that nonsense got to go away. You got to be free. So you have to know the truth. They say when the spirit of truth shall come, he will guide you into all truth. And that's what it's about. That's what this is about. And we need to see this. It's very important now. Okay, the peacemaker. The Indians always talk about the peacemaker. They always talk about the one coming in white. And a lot of people think they're talking about white. And you essentially say, well, that's got to be a white man, a white, a Caucasian. No. He wear a white attire, a priestly attire. It's Melchizedek. He dressed in that white priestly attire. He comes in white, that white priestly attire. He comes as a priest. And that's how he comes. You're going to see him dressed as a priest when you see Melchizedek. And this is what most people don't understand. Now, most people don't understand something about, if they ever understood him, they got to understand that even peoples of color, their bone structure, they may have I got a son and a daughter, but my main I talk about my son. I love him to death, he's my son, but he's a little light, okay? And when you see him, if you look in his face, you see a negroid face, a person of color face. But his skin, when you see his skin, he's real light, okay? He's real light. So when you say white, see, white is something that didn't come up into the 1600s, and that one came, the word white people came from I think it was a German explorer, a philosopher or something, and he was only talking about beautiful, not white as the color of your skin or nothing, because I ain't seen no white people on this planet. Yeah, I really haven't. I've seen some things, but not white folks, okay? When I see people that look like my shirt, then I'm talking about white folks, okay? I see peoples, and I'm not trying to jig at nothing. I see peoples, and they take that name, and they run with that word, and they try to make everybody else look inferior, and that group of people look superior. And that word has been used out of place and incorrect and all that. This little kid, remember a little kid one time, he was getting some coloring cream to put together, and he was painting different people's face. He never painted no people's face white. He always painted close to what he see that color is. And that's really when you see it. And we have to get out of that. We have to get out of that nonsense. Let's deal with it. The peacemaker. Now the peacemaker have been known to the Indians to come and give them the knowledge of their fellow people and how to gather the tribes together. The way that the United States is gathered together come from those Indians. Those knowledgeable Indians. And you got to understand, those Indians was over here with the knowledge, the same knowledge that the Egyptian had, the Indians or the peoples over here. They weren't no Indians, okay? That was Constantine, Columbus stupidity. And we've been running with it, and our nation tried to force that ignorance on us. There was no Indian people because he never went to India, okay? There was Aborigines, just like the Aborigines of Egypt and etc. over here, were a civilized nation. That's why they call them, the ones on the East Coast, they call them the civilized tribe, because they had more intelligence. The Europeans were way behind these people when they came here. They were way behind these people. And most people don't know that. They was way behind these people. Anytime you ain't took a bath and you don't like to bathe every week and every day, people, you got some problems. And Europe was coming out of the dark age, and they had some serious problems and stuff. Because those people just, they pushed them back into that age. And they were pushed back into that dark age, and they did not have, they came to a people that was more advanced than them, more peaceful than them. And you don't know that. And most people don't know that. And most black folks now don't realize they come from families that was ancestors that was prisoners of war. And that's how you got those children. You took them in, they were prisoners of war and stuff like that, and they became servants underneath those Eurocentric people, because you had a lot of blacks. They was sharecroppers at that time. In other words, what happened, they had the farmland, they grew the crops. Eurocentric came here, they had to learn how to grow crops. Until they really learned how to grow crops, they sharecropped with the tenants, with the people, the landowner, who was the Negroes, who later the Negroes, who later, they call them the Indians, but at the same time, a law was passed in Virginia that they didn't want them to be called Indians anymore. They were all Negroes, okay? and stuff like that, the ones that remain. So a lot of black folks that's in North Carolina, South Carolina, even Virginia, Tennessee, but North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, they are offsprings from those individual people. That's why you got over 1/4 of the blacks in America live right in these 4 states, this location. And we have to see this, it's very important. Now, let's get on going now, let's go on. Now, Jesus, we got to look at the word Jesus. You know, J didn't come out in the alphabet until the 1400s, so there was no Jesus. But where did that word Jesus and Jew and all that come from? Had a lot in common, and most people don't know that. There was no J, it was an L. Sometimes they'll use the I and turn the I into the L into an I to throw you off, especially his Greek name. But yet, you'll see Jesus. What did they do to throw you off so you wouldn't see it? And they did the esoteric thing on you. They took the J, which they used the L, but they took it and turned it to a J, and you had LE, you got LE. They took the S, and they used the S like it was, but they took what is known is you take this S to make the W, but they wouldn't do that. They did it like this. So only the initiative will know. So you got LE, you turn this up around, you got LE, and this S is a W, and this U. They have the U, and you look at the U sometime, you see how they do it. You got to trace these letters back so you can see how they work sometimes. You had the U, you see the U is here and there. When you flip it that way, and it's here, and that line there, and that's how you got your I. And then you got your S there. And also in the word Jew, most people don't know the word Jew, Jewish, and Jew. The subname for Jew is Lewis, but they had it when it came to Jew, J-E-W. Now I want you to see, because this was changed to L, J-W, the L was changed to J. This was L-E-W. I want you to see something. Go look it up so you can find out yourself. Before there was a J-E-W, you got to see this now. Before there was a J-E-W, there was an L-E-W. It was pronounced L-E-W. It was never J-E-W in the beginning. It was L-E-W. That's how Jew was spelled and pronounced. L-E-W, not J-E-W. Then, what they do, while they're tricking you, and you don't know, you see it was L-E-W-I-S, and later they put the H there. So you got, this was L-E-W-I-S. See, they always coded Lewis inside there, but they didn't want you to know, because if you start knowing, you're going to figure out some of this other stuff. You're going to figure out why Jesus, who Jesus was and what Jesus was all about, and they was trying to create the Jesus. And they created him in your book, and you never been told that those groups of individuals during the time before Constantine time, during the time of you had Titus and his father Vespasian, you had Josephus, you had the Alexanders, you had the Herods, and all these boys at that time, they created this Jesus character to put him at that time. And so you could see them playing that Jesus part out in their time. And I know many people say they never heard this kind of stuff, and they just say, well, I ain't know that, but go start studying. Study so you can know. And when they talk about, well, Christians didn't come into Jesus' time, no, Christians did not. Ptolemy the First was known as Ptolemy Soter, Alexander, let's say, half-brother. And at the time of the Grecian Empire, after Alexander died, or even before, after Alexander died, Ptolemy the First, with the Ptolemaic dynasty, controlled Egypt. He became the first Greek pharaoh. That's when they start learning about this here, this peacemaker. This is when they start learning about this Lewis, or this Israel person. They didn't know this stuff before. And they start putting this stuff together and bringing it about at their time of human history. And when you read it, you don't know this. So when I go to telling you this, then it's all strange. And who would you want to believe? Do you want to believe the prophet of God, or do you want to believe your distorted history? That's why I tell you, go back, check me, prove me wrong. That's what you do. You shouldn't have somebody in front of you teaching you a false thing if it ain't right. So what do? You condemn them before you find out? No, you go check it. You go get bias out of the picture and you go study this stuff. And when you study it, I don't have to tell you nothing. God, it got you. I ain't got you. It gets you then. Because truth is very powerful. And truth will wrap you up. Because what? Truth is about God. Now let's go and carry this on. Now, you see Lewis, you see the Iroquois. Why is the Iroquois? Why I wrote the Iroquois there? Because the Iroquois was the ones who ruled that area, and later that southern part became the Cherokee. But the Iroquois are the Cherokee. Okay? And they kept ruling up in the upper states of New York and stuff like that, all the way up into Canada, etc. Now, we got to see that because it's very important, because in Iroquois is the word Lewis. See, these Hebrews knew about that code name. They could look into the future and they see that Messiah, the prince, is coming. His name is Lewis. So they knew this. And this is why the Merovingians started naming their kings and stuff Lewis. They wasn't really of the bloodline of Jesus, but they wanted to capture that and fool the peoples at the age of deception so they could do these things. And you got to see this. Now, let's see that. You see this L-O-U-I-S. You got you got O-U-I-S. O-U-I-S. You got that. Now, where do you get the L from? You get the L. Remember what they did with the I? Sometimes they took the I and they changed it, and the J, and they changed it so you could get the, so you wouldn't see the L, you get the J. And you take this, for example, you take this, you take these here, you move that down there, you take this and you move it over here, you got L right there, O-U-I-S. L-O-U-I-S in Iroquois. And see, you got to look at words and you got to look at why that similarity? Because they are signs. The Hebrew of the peoples of Israel, but they was known as Hebrews at that time, because they knew that Israel had to come. It was known as a peacemaker. The peacemaker is the one, he's coming with God, as a messenger of God. That's why he's known as a peacemaker. We also see in the Bible, I think it's Matthew, Mark 1, it talk about the peacemakers. Okay? The peacemakers are the one that follow the peacemaker, the messenger. And we have to understand that. In the Indian legend, the peacemaker must come. In the Holy Bible, the Old Testament, the peacemaker must come. In the New Testament, the peacemaker must come. That's the messenger to teach you the truth and lead you down the right path. And you have to see these things. Our nation, our Constitution is based on documents from the peacemaker. What we did, we took the Iroquois knowledge of the Federalist paper, and we took their knowledge and we plagiarized it to come up with our Constitution. Study it, my people. You need to know this information. They tell you the Indian was like this, and you see the TP and the Hollywood thing, and they in the Trail of Tears, and they going out to Oklahoma way, and they fighting the soldiers and the Indians. They never will wind you back before 1830 to those houses. You know, you had some of the European scholars that came over at the time of the 1820s and before. Even William Penn, he told you that, man, he wrote a letter to his friend and say, you know, when I got there, I seen those people, they like Hebrews. They so orderly and the kids so mindful, they so good. He said, man, that was extraordinary. He said it was like being on this particular street in London where the Hebrews live at. And then you had other ones saying that, hey, look, it was like when I came here to America and I seen these peoples, it was like being in a paradise. Nice, clean water with good trouts and salmon and stuff there. You could see them, just look at them in the water and stuff like that. And different things. You could drink the water fresh out the creek and things like that. They were good berries and stuff. They got farm products and stuff like that. Agriculture and everything. These nice, beautiful houses in town. See, they don't tell you that. You got to know that. You got to know your land been stolen from you through broken trees and other things. And I'm not saying it happened. God permitted it to happen. So what do we do about it right now? We follow the word of God. Let's read what God said. Let's deal with Amos 9, 14 to 15. Let's deal with this because this is very important. You don't hear me hollering right now. You see me trying to keep my posture and, do what's right. And I'm trying to really get you to see this because, see, in this very near future, we got to raise some money. Because the ones that do all the gold that I have sent in to do the research and what you call it from a lawyer's point of view, certain words you call when you go out and get the discovery. Get the discovery on just how we're going to do this. People, it's already laid out. You ain't already got the stuff laid out. They got all the stuff. You got to understand this Federalist Papers, and you got to understand the, what they call this thing, doctrine of inclusion, the doctrine of discovery. You got to understand these things, people. God to fix it where you could get your land. All you got to do is prove certain things. That's all you got to do. You got to prove that you have a religion. You was Hebrews. You believe in the one God. And the Indians believe in the grandfather God of the sky. That's who he is taught. And he's Melchizedek, and he's under God the Almighty. Okay? And that's what the Hebrew Bible do. That's what the Hebrews do. That's what our Christianity branched from, the Hebrew doctrine, the Old Testament. Another thing you had to do, you had to prove that these people was agricultural people, that they wasn't nomadic, they wasn't going wanderers, go here and then you don't see them back for years later in that land. No, they had houses, towns, cities, shopping areas. You got to show that. Great farm areas. They grew tobacco and cotton. And people think that when the tobacco and stuff came, and during the time, one of the first laws that they passed, other than the punishment for the indentured service in 1619, around in the area of August the 1st in that area, they passed one on tobacco, the sales of price of tobacco, and the other on indentured service, what they gonna do for punishment. And see, you got to see these things here. So what they was doing, they was taking what the Indians, I wouldn't say that, what the Aborigines of this land, these Hebrews of this land, they were taking their product and being what you call a mediator, they were selling to Europe and other places like that. And they became what they call, the blacks was a sense of sharecropping. But they were sharecropping on their own land. They weren't sharecropping on somebody else's land. They were sharecropping on their own land. And then you had these Eurocentric came sometime and they became squatters on their land. And as time went on, when you had Andrew Jackson, etc., they started claiming these people's land. Okay, and then when they had the gold rush in upper Georgia, when it was the first gold rush in America, and the European really wanted that land. And Andrew Jackson pushed them, y'all got to go on the other side of Mississippi, and then you got to go on this Trail of Tears and get on out of here to go to Oklahoma. And then that's when you get the Dole's list and all the other nonsense. But the ones that stayed, like the peoples in Virginia said, you were no longer citizens of a Cherokee nation. You got to become of our nation. And later on, we got that 1/5, 3/5 thing. And not only we got that thrown on us, we had the idea that the land wasn't ours, so they used the church, the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church, to use this social engineering on you. And you got to know that. Social engineer was used on you. So you think that your God, see, you're already Hebrews. I don't know why they tried that stunt. But you got to understand, Christianity, the New Testament ain't like the Old Testament. People think the New Testament and the Old Testament are the same. New Testament ain't like the Old Testament. The Old Testament don't talk about no sacrifice, no human sacrifice, nobody. That's why the Jews don't accept your Jesus. Because they know that that's an impossibility of God. God ain't gonna, all these years, God gonna tell them not to have a human sacrifice and gonna punish them behind it. And then when the Gentiles come, and the Gentiles are used to having human sacrifices, then they say, oh yeah, it's all right now. Okay, come on, Jews, ain't that stupid? And we should not be neither. We got to understand these truths now because it's very important. Now let's read this, Amos 9:14. And I will bring again the captivity of my peoples, Israel. My peoples, Israel. Israel got to come on the scene. Israel has to come on the scene. And who is Israel? Lewis. So the captivity of my people, Israel, because Lewis is a prince. Lewis is a royal. Lewis is coming back to claim his nation. That's why you're going to hear this title, that the North America land was stolen. This prince that's supposed to come, that is born in North America, he is in the Bible, and you got to understand, if the Jews, if the Gentiles had this, and they got theirs from the Hebrews, what you think the people already here had? You think they didn't have this information that's in our Bible, some of this information in our Bible? A lot of it. You were singing to the choir when you were singing to these Hebrews, talking about Christianity and talking about that. They didn't accept Christianity, but they accept the Hebrew philosophy that you had in your book. They didn't accept that, but they didn't accept that other stuff. So you had to try to make them accept Christianity, your Jesus in that. When they had a peacemaker, they knew the peacemaker. And they know the peacemaker supposed to come. They know the Messiah, the Prince, supposed to come. And see, they done brainwashed the church, black folks and Caucasians and peoples of color. They done brainwashed you to believe something that they put, that the Catholic Church is pushing, and King James and them boys always told you the Catholic Church was Antichrist from the real Christ. Now, I know I got family members that some this Catholics, etc. So I'm not here trying to beat on the Catholic. I'm just trying to tell you, if we're going to get this thing right, we got to get it right all the way. We got to get it all the way. So the Protestants are the ones that, the Hebrews are the ones that come into this new knowledge. They got to help save these Protestants and the Catholics. Okay? They got to bring all back to the fold so they can see that we got to live together in unity and integrity. We have to do that, my people. We got to see the truthism. We got to seek for the truthism. And that's very important. That's extremely important. Now, let's go and deal with this. I'm going to take this all the way down. Amos 9 chapter 14 to 15. And I will bring again the captivity of the peoples of Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inherit them and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens. I want you to hear this now. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. Now that's very important. You got to see this. It's very important. We already got gardens. Why they got to make more gardens? Why they got to change how the city is and all that other stuff? It's very important. We got to see that. Now, when you got a city and it's ran in such a way and it's not taking care of the masses of the people, then there got to be some restructuring in the habits of the running of that city. You can't go and take the garbage from the beach side and from the people with the $1 million homes and all that, and leave the people on the other side of town garbage in front of their house 2 and 3 weeks and stuff like this. You can't do that. You got to treat everybody the same. You can't go put paid roads over there and then don't pay roads in the other areas. And then say, well, the tax dollar is bigger over here. That's not how a nation, and that's not how a city is supposed to be ran. You can't give to this group of people, and no matter what color they are, you can't give to this group of people the money they want to build this and build that and build their dreams, and you don't give to this group of people, Caucasian, Eurocentric, or peoples of color, and you ain't trying to give them nothing to get on their feet. You telling them that they got to be pulled up by their own bootstrap when, hey, you done took their boots. Took their land, took their territory, and then you tell them they got to be pulled up by their own bootstraps. Come on. When you done built programs to help that Eurocentric person out that came over here to the New World, migrated over here, and settled over here on these people's land, and you take these people's land and you give it to those individuals. Millions of acres. See, so that's why when you see this wasted city, you got to understand what it is. The format got to be changed. A lot of things about America got to be changed. The banking system got to be changed. All of this. Sometimes I look at a situation, and I'm with me going to college and stuff like that, and learning business administration. I look at things, and I never forget one time I went to the bank to get some money to start my business, to help keep my business off even greater. And when I went to the bank to get some money, the man told me, Mr. Armstrong, you got to go to the Small Black Business Association to borrow money. Something the government done put together, which you got so much red tape it ain't even worth fooling with. And the only reason I went there to them is because a white friend of mine's in the same field, he had went there, and Armstrong, man, you need to go there and get you so many thousands of dollars for this to help kick you off, get you going right. And I said, okay, let me go and get my paperwork together and go there. My credit was better than his credit because we was friends. We knew about each other's stuff. And he said, man, Armstrong, man, go on and do that. I went there, the man turned me around at the door almost. And that's what you deal with now. That's what you deal with now. One time I did a job for a homeowner. I got to say this stuff. I did a job for a homeowner. He was talking to me. He was an ex-military guy. He was an officer, ex-military guy. And he wanted to build this business on this particular street where a lot of white businesses at. And the man that served in the military, and he had his own house. He wanted to borrow $200,000 and he could handle the rest. He wanted to borrow $200,000 and his house was way over $200,000, way over that, and he would have put his house up, whatever. And you know what they told him? No, you can't get there. We don't. How about building it over there? No, you can't build it over here. And see, that's the kind of things we have to deal with. And our brothers and sisters and the young people that are growing up today, you got to wake up. It's more than having your pants hanging down and doing that. It's more than talking about bling bling and how much women's you can have and all that. People, you got to get up. Young men and young women, you got to get up and wake up. We need something new here, okay? We got to come on. We got to pull together with unity and equality. We got to deal with judgment and justice, and that's very important. And I will plant them upon their own. Now look. I will plant them upon their land, okay? He didn't say somebody else's land. He said their land. And they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, said the Lord thy God. And you're going to see this. He said he's going to put you on your own land. And that's what you're looking at, your own land. Genesis 16:11. Genesis 16:11. Thus thought art with child. Thus thought art now. And then they're going to show you. Art with child shall bear a son. Now what is he talking about? In this area, he's talking to Hagar. And he's telling Hagar that her child, she's going to have a child. And that Hagar represents the black church of color. Going to have a child. And that child is going to be with the arts. And he's going to have that. He's going to be a son. I mean, he's going to be a light to humanity. We must see that. Now, we need to understand this now. Because how could they take your land from you? How could all this stuff, you know, this land with nobody here, they warred against the Indians, etc., etc. They don't tell you who the Indians really was and all that. And what really was the driving factor for these peoples to lose their land? Not only in America, in any country at that time from the 1400s onward. What was happening and what was the doctrine of the law that gave the Esoteric the right to take those people's land? It was known as the doctrine of discovery. See, people don't realize the doctrine of discovery is in your law, your legal world now. And they don't tell you that. You don't know that. Where does stuff come from? What gives them a right to have the audacity to push so hard to get that in? Because they believe that they was under the will of God. That's why you see this and the manifest destiny is the same. The manifest destiny is the same. Now, what is this important? Where this doctrine of discovery came from? This doctrine of discovery was something that the Catholic Church came up with, and I'm going to talk more of it over there. But the doctrine of discovery is something you need to know, because what they said is that land belong to this land. Anytime they come and discover it, and they follow the criteria that is necessary to get that land. See, it couldn't be religious peoples or peoples of Christianity or peoples of Judaism or stuff like that. It couldn't be those people. It had to be peoples who didn't have none of this Christianity or none of this type of religion. But the Hebrews, there was Hebrews here, but they weren't Christians, so they just dominated it. They took them as they was heathens and etc. And they just took their land and did what they wanted with the treaties and etc. But you need to study about the doctrine of discovery and the manifest destiny. It's very important. This is a need to understand. You need to understand where we are going in December 21st. Understanding December 21st, 2012. Okay, now, I'm going to deal with the arts right now. We'll deal with the arts because it's very important to understand the art. Now, when you deal with the 7 seals of Revelation and you deal with the time from Noah on here, you need to know about that and know what happened, what land was divided. You had the Esoteric on controlling the northern part of the globe, where the cold weather was. And then you had I think the Shem seed, the other seed, Japheth, the northern part. Shem seed was the moderate climate and stuff like that, like over here in America and stuff. And then you had Ham seed, as some of the scholars say, control the hot part, the part below the equator. Okay, but beyond that, I want to deal with biblical, historical thing, okay, and not so much theory, because I can't definitely say that. All I can say is that sort of theory that was presented to me, and it may have a lot of truth in it, but I don't want to go into that and make that as sound, because that's what some thought gave me. That was something one of my individuals gave me to consider. Okay, it's very important. So you have to listen to which way thought going to give you information at the same time. So it's very important. Now, in this procession of the equinox, we see the dark age. This equinox go like this, round like this here, and it's 25,900 and something like 60 years. It's important to know this now, because right here, this dark age time is the part that we're more considerate about, because this is where we are far away from Sirius, the sun that's coming this way in the procession of the equinox. And also, when we fall away from Sirius, our DNA began to drop, and then here it began to rise back. And here, that's why we done discovered so many things in the last 150 years like we have, because of our DNA is rising to a higher level, because we finna be energized more with the sun series. And just like the sun energize plants and make plants grow properly with the rain, the same thing is here. We are part of the universe, and the universe is a part of us. So we have to understand, like he told Noah, man will become wicked. It don't mean he become wicked, although that plays a part in it. But man gonna lose the ability of his DNA. He ain't gonna talk telepathically like Noah them could over here. He gonna have to develop that language. And you see when they talk about the Tower of Babel over here, man had to develop a language. And they had different languages, so they were scattered, so they had to develop different languages, so they couldn't talk telepathically. When they was with one language, that was a telepathic language, and they don't talk about it. They say, well, they had one language, and it was telepathic. They was telepathic. And now they had to learn the language over here and keep on going to here. Now again, man gonna become a telepathic peoples again. And they're gonna live up to 1,000 years. That's why I say over here, you'll reign with Christ for 1,000 years. And we have to see it. And this is where you see the procession of the equinox. You see the seal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th seal. Each one of these, Taurus have 2 seals, Aries have 2 seals, and Pisces have 2 seals. So we done enter into the 7th seal at this time. And what do we say in the 7th seal? In Revelation, it says the kingdom of this world become kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ. And we have to understand that. And these are things you have to understand that go along with that. And the peacemaker is coming at this time. We're in right now. Now we're going to go over to this board here and do this board here. This is the board we're going to do now. And so, you're looking at it, take your time and do it. We have a new camera lady right now. Dorothy had to leave to do something very important. So we got a new camera lady, and she's handling it from there. Okay, now we're going to deal with Louis Jerome Armstrong. This is why I put the English inventory here. We're going to see something in the Zeitgeist thing I didn't tell you about, but this one I'm going to tell you about when you take this name. Louis Jerome Armstrong, October 22nd, 1954. That's me. I'm that person that they was talking about in the Bible, so I must just show you what it is. And don't try to convince nothing. It's for you to know, and it's for the Holy Spirit to work with you, so you could be convinced one way or the other what it is. I know if you're following God, you're going to be convinced to understand this. Okay? Now, when I deal with sacred geometry, you don't have to go and get no extra class or knowledge in geometry or nothing like that. You just have to follow the basic understanding of geometry, and you can follow and understand this, because it's an esoteric geometry. It's not just like geometry in school, although it got some aspects of it, but it's esoteric, and you got to understand it's above academic, and you need to see that. Louis Jerome Armstrong, October 22nd, 1954. That's the date of birth. If you go into Daniel, that deal with the 9th chapter, it will show you that person, date of birth, his spark, and all the other things. Now, what you're going to see, and what was that date of birth? It was 7 years, which is, say, 7 weeks, and which are sabbaticals. So 7 years each. And each sabbatical is talking about a week of years, so it's telling you about the year, not the week. And because you don't have 2 sabbaticals in 1 year, you have 1 sabbatical in that year, each year. So it's showing you 7 years of 360 days a year from the time that Israel was given a right to be established as a state, Israel and Palestine. That happened in November 29, 1947. Now we go from there, 360 days a year, multiplied times 7, I think is 2,520 days. You take that 2,520 days, if I'm correct, check me. And you go from the day, November 27, November the 29th, 1947, it'll take you to October 22nd, 1954. Exactly. But you need to know these calculations, because it's dealing with tetragrammaton, the language of God, and you got to understand the numbers. It's part of the arts. This is the arts that the angel of the Lord said to Hagar, thy child with art. Okay. Now, you get the English geometry, you look at the English geometry there, you come up with these numbers. You got L got 2, E got 5, W got 4, I got 5, and S got 6. Okay, J got 4, E got 5, R got 5, O got 2, M got 1, E got 5. Okay, that's 22 again. This one add up 22, this one add up 22. Armstrong. You got A got 1, R got 5, M got 1, S got 6, T got 7, R got 5, O got 2, N got 1, G got 7. That's 35, okay? Now, when you get here, oh, I forgot to take this, erase this from behind here. It's not. Pi don't go there. Pi don't go there. Okay, sorry. Pi don't go there. Okay. Now, when you look at this, you take the date 22, born on the 22nd, you divide 7 into that, you got 3.14, that's pi. You take this, it's just 5. Over here, you got 22, 7 going 22, 3.14 is pi. You got over here, 22, 7 going to 22, 1.34 is pi. Then you take prince, because this person is known as a prince. This Messiah is known as the Messiah the Prince. So you take the word prince, you add them numbers up, 355,135 equal 22. You divide 7 into the other, 3.14. Now how many pies you have? You got 4 pies. So why do you have 4 pies? Because God didn't want you to have no mistake on his chosen language, tetragrammaton, and who this person is. This is how you identify the Messiah, the Prince, from the Bible. This is how you identify Israel from the Bible, by his name. Many people don't realize, and I tell only a few people I'm close to, but my mom and daddy did not name me. My name was Armstrong, and the last name Armstrong, but Louis Jerome, my mother and father did not name me that. And it was told to me that some people, and they must have been very important people, but my dad was a Baptist and mom was a Pentecostal, but they must have been very important people for them to come and tell my parents what my name's supposed to be. So that's something is working underneath all of this. And it's not just by chance. There's things that's working underneath all this, behind the scene, that made sure certain things happen and stuff be known at certain times. And we have to see that, okay? Now let's deal with Amos. Let's go with Amos, because you got your 4 circles with this. You're dealing with what that represents: work, home, community, private self. It shows you this here. And a lot of times you see these circles like this in the Olympic. You see there, they talk about the Olympic, they talk about the different circles and stuff like that. That's showing it's more to show you the 5 divine laws. That's what it's basically showing you, the 5 divine laws. Let's deal with Amos. Amos 5:11. In thought day, not that day, in thought day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the branches thereof. And I will raise up his rim, and I will build it as in the days of old. So what they're showing you, that in America, these Hebrews is coming back to their place. The peoples of God is coming back to their place. And you have to see this. So what it is, the peoples of God is not just people that bloodline Hebrews, they're people that's following this particular person, this Lewis person. They are the people that are connected to him. They are people that connected to this Israel person. That's why he had to come. And they know that, but they don't want you to know that. That's why they let all these churches rise up and go this way and teach this and teach that and teach Peshed, the little writing, because they don't want you to know the truth. And I'm going to tell you a prophecy right now. Young people ain't finna go with the churches no more like they was. Them young people leaving that church. They leaving Christianity churches and stuff like that. They don't want to have no more to do with that because they know they've been lied to. And I know many ministers saying, whoa, I don't want you to say that. That shouldn't be going. I'm going to tell the truth because you're going to see it in the very near future. God can't set his kingdom up and these people keep running these churches the way they run and ain't teaching the truth of what God got going on. Don't know the revelation of what God got going on. They're like the peoples of Noah time. They like me. They like the peoples of, Noah time. They like the peoples of Lot time. They like the peoples of Jonah time. They ain't trying to teach you the truth of what God really saying. They're part of that Gore doctrine. They're part of the prophets of Baal and the prophets of the grove. They don't teach you the truth and don't want you to know the truth and don't want you to know that it took, at the Indian times, it took God to come up with that, teach them through a peacemaker, to come up with the federal papers, to come up with such of a law, such of a doctrine that had our Esoteric peoples in America plagiarizing it, copying it, so they could come up with our Constitution. Our Constitution wasn't came up with no Benjamin Franklin and all that. Study about Benjamin Franklin, the notes that Benjamin Franklin had when they was putting the Constitution together, and find out where Benjamin Franklin get these ideas from. They act like God just pulled it in these men's head. No, they got it from the Hebrews that already lived here, from their Confederate papers. And that's what was going on. This is documented. This is nothing that I'm just saying. Study it. It's there. You know, sometimes you got to do more than just hit a little Google search. You got to study. It's called drush. And you need to do your research, people, so you can see these truthism. Now, in Psalm 89, 15 and 17. Blessed is the people of thought. So you got to come back to Melchizedek. Melchizedek is known in the book as the Savior. Look at some of our videos. He's known as the Savior. Jesus is known, Lewis is known as the messenger. See, they done twisted this thing, and you think that Jesus is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. That's what they teach you. The Old Testament don't teach you that. You got the Pauline doctrine and the Gentiles coming out there, and Paul never seen no Jesus. He never seen. He made up this story on the road to Damascus. And this man was the one, as they say, I can't put none of that in face value, but as they say, he was the one persecuting the Christians, people of God, and they say, well, Jesus said, Paul, why thou persecute thy me? Anybody could write that crap and try to convince you that that's what went on. You got to understand what the Catholic Church was all about. Some people ain't care about lying to you. If it don't agree with the Old Testament, then you need to throw that crap away. But I got to tell you, I understand a lot of things in the New Testament is written in an art form, And it's in an esoteric form, so if you literally read it, like most church folks been doing, you ain't gonna ever understand it no way. Because it has some truth in it, but it ain't under what they call Christianity. It's under the Old Testament, and it's buried under Christianity. And you don't know that. And not only is buried under Christianity, these Hebrew people had some of that same literature here, but they never tell you that. They never tell you that. And these are things you got to learn. You talking about you come from Africa, a lot of folks, oh, let's go back to Africa. And them Africans saying they ain't know nothing about you. Okay? And let's understand this now. Because in Psalm, it said, blessed is the people thought, know the joyful sound. They shall walk, O Lord, in the light of thy countenance. For thou art, notice what it said, for thou art the glory of their strength. Thou art. See, that's why I had to come with the art. Thou art. In other words, each arts put checks and balances to it. It gives you the truth of it. It's the glory of thy strength. So you got to know the arts. If you get in a church where they ain't got no art, don't know this, which they don't know it, because they got to come in this environment to know it, then it's time for you to start getting up out of there. So you can seek the arts. So you can know what the arts is all about. So these truths can be revealed to you. Thy art is the glory of thy strength, and in thy favor our horn shall be exalted. That means we got to come back to the fold, my people. And they're going to be peoples of color, and they're going to be Esoteric peoples, all in that fold as well, known as the children of Israel. So they ain't going to be a one color. Although your fathers once owned this, but you're going to have Gentiles, and you're going to have converts, as they say, into this. And you got to see this. So don't look at the Esoteric man who ain't done nothing, is just trying to live and make it just like everybody else. Don't look at him as your enemy. You got to look at this system. This system and what they've been manipulating, what they've been controlling, and the top level of the church. And what they've been doing. You got to start opening your eyes, my people. Manifest Destiny. Manifest Destiny was brought about in the 1900s, meaning 19th century, and it was a doctrine. Okay? It was the doctrine from the Pope, from the doctrine of discovery that Pope Alexander VI brought about with the paper bull in 1493. This doctrine will give them the right to take your land, to destroy your property and make it their property. And that's what they did. And so that's what they was going off for, not off on. They had to have something, some higher power to tell them what they could do in order to do it. And they used the Catholic Church was the culprit that did this to you. And this is what you got to understand. It did to you. And that's why you hear Daniel say in his writing, the sanctuary got to be clean in Daniel 8th chapter, because you know what this church has done. Now, that's the end of this lecture. We'd like you to make donations, and we need money for the fight for the land. In other words, we have to take this. We have a team that's putting all this stuff together, and so we could approach the attorney with it and stuff like that. And believe me, God already gave me a vision that we're going to get our land, okay? The scripture already tell you we're going to get our land. Now, you don't be doubting Thomas and believe that if he say you're going to get it, well, there's a legal way to get it. And I found out there is a legal way to get it. The UN done already sought out certain things for you to be able to do this, or anybody in the world to be able to do that once their land been taken away, how to get their land back, and what is the criteria you need to have, knowledge you need to know in order to do that. You have 2 examples already been there in the last so many years. I think within 50 years, where certain people done went to the UN and won court cases and got certain segments of their land back. But yet we're talking about a larger area of land, a whole nation of land, and that was taken away from the peoples by treaties, etc., broken treaties, and etc., at the time of Andrew Jackson. And this is what we're dealing with, the Cherokee Nation of these tribal peoples the peoples of color nation that live in that what they call the Cherokee territory. Now you had Creeks living there, you had Seminoles living there, you had others, but it was known as the Cherokee Nation, and which was before the Cherokee, they were the Iroquois, and we have to understand that a certain part of them Iroquois. So we have to understand that, and it's very important. So we need our group to get with other people. We need some serious money, people. We need some serious money, because we got to have a legal team that's qualified, that thought will use in order to take this before the Supreme Court with the knowledge that we have. We done did our discovery, so we already know it could be done. We ain't trying to figure out, can it be done? We know it could be done. But yeah, you still got to have a good legal team, and then at the same time, I got to have certain funds available to protect my behind, because let me tell you something. You talk about them killing Martin Luther King, you think they wouldn't come try to come at me? You know, thought gonna be there for me, but you don't think they'll try to come? Martin Luther King wasn't talking about taking all them states and stuff like that, although he knew it belonged to us. He was talking about the poor people mind. Okay, so you're talking about something greater, changing the landscape of America, changing it and putting another nation in this territory of Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and you think they won't be trying to come? Come on, people. You can't sit here and be sending nickels and dimes in and send no money in, and this have no reflection on the people that's already donating. No, I love them, I'm glad for them, but you got a lot of other people out there got to do their job. A lot of other people. See, you want land, you want things to be right, so it ain't just getting the land back, it's making things right. See, some of them individuals who back in this organization and have a territory, have a house in those areas, they ain't gonna have no mortgage after we get our land back. Come on, ain't no mortgage gonna be there. Things gonna change. It's gonna benefit you. Let's say you got a $500,000 house and you in that area, and the courses, the UN done gave that land back. What you think? They gonna just take your house and move it? No, you're gonna have your house. And you ain't gotta have no payments, because it'll be like the accountants do. The people's in accounting do. If they want to get the books right, they started at zero. It started at zero. See, that's what should have happened during the time of 2007 and 2008, 2009, when you were losing your houses and them companies went bankrupt and they folded. What they should have did, they should have gave you your house, but they wouldn't. They were so nasty to you. Them houses belong to you, but what they did, they went in and bought the state attorneys out and all them people's out, so they couldn't come and sue them, and they just gave them to the different banks, and the banks took over your mortgage, and they have no right to do it. That won't happen again to you. When that happens, when you are to be in your territory, that house belongs to you. You're black, you're in that territory, that house belongs to you. You're white, you're in that territory, that house belongs to you. Okay? You won't own the land, because the land belongs to the nation. Just like you don't own the land here. You pay for the land, but you don't really own the land, because you leave in a house of land property, within 5 years, it go back to the state. Oh, the same thing as this there, but what we're trying to do is you will be mortgage free. You won't have it where some people get loans and the other ones don't. Everybody gets a sufficient amount of loans who qualify. It won't be that racism and all that bias and all that. Come on, people, it's enough. You can't build a kingdom for God with all that nonsense. This is what God trying to do, and He's trying to do it on America's soil. And He done written that He's gonna do it on America's soil. And I'm asking black folks, peoples of color, and Esoteric people, I'm asking all y'all to follow this person so we could be able to get what belongs to us. This is our land. This is for the children of Israel. And we could get this if we unite ourselves and pull ourselves together. And we need to see this. Now, you see your donation to Louis Armstrong Ministry, 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida, 32210. Cross Rock Incorporated. Also, at Give the Five on your mobile app on the charitable. And PayPal at ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. That's PayPal at ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. And I'd like to say a little quick prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for permitting us to be here. Thank you for me bringing this lecture. I have about 5. I'm going to try to have you 5 in a row. After this one, I'm going to try to have you 5 in a row. Or if I can manage, I'm going to take you straight through the Christmas without missing 1 week of lectures. But I'm going to try to have you at least 5 in a row. And I need you to pay attention to this. I need you to begin to see that there is a way, a legal way, to get that land back by using the UN. And we need to believe in this. We are not people that come from Africa, so we should not be trying to go back to Africa. We need to do our job here, what our ancestors have for us to do here. Heavenly Father, thank you for all your many blessings. Thank you for your presence among us. Thank you for your ideology, teaching us to understand these truths. And I say, thank you, and thank you. Amen.